Coming up, molten level heat between top stars in WWE means they don't talk anymore. AEW confirmed Clash of Champions-esque TV special, and The Undertaker reveals who he wishes ended the streak. And much more, so subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on all of your wrestling news goodness. I'd get Terry, but I'm wearing a black t-shirt, and if I pick up a white cat, it's just going to be everywhere.
Support WrestleTalk!
So you may have noticed that there's been some trouble brewing between WWE's two top women in recent weeks. You may have noticed it because it's weirdly made it into the TV product with the least graceful belt swap in history. The New Day and the Street Profits were like, "Here you go, gents, best of luck to you, I love your work," and Charlotte and Becky were like, "I don't wanna look weak." So yeah, things between Becky Lynch and her pony pal Charlotte Flair have been frosty of late, which is no bueno when the two are set to compete against each other at Survivor Series, especially as reports claim that the pair got into a legit argument backstage just last month that ended with Flair being escorted out of the building by security. And yeah, though traditionally people do tend to perform better when in the midst of a behind-the-scenes bust-up, you just gotta look at Michaels and Hart to see that. Or all of Fleetwood Mac. But these specific rumours have left fans with plenty of questions about the sitch between the horsewomen. Do you see what I did there with the rumours thing? When Sports Illustrated put the question to Becky Lynch, here is what the man had to say. "I don't know, man. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk. So all I'll say is the locker room needs a hero sometimes, and sometimes somebody's gotta be a hero. I'm all right being that hero. That's what I'll say on that matter." Lynch went on to describe that working with an opponent in wrestling is a matter of trust, saying when you can't trust the person, then you never know what's going to happen. And she described those types of matches as a bit of a show. And then, right, Sports Illustrated asked her outright whether she trusted Chaz, and Lynch just said no. She said that things were difficult, and when asked if they're no longer friends, she said, "We used to be best friends." Juicy use of the word used. And as always though, with wrestling you gotta take this thing with a heavy pinch of salt, because it could just be Lynch working up some interest in the match. But we do know that the incident from last month was real, so whether that particular water is now under the bridge or set to come spilling out all over the canvas at Survivor Series remains to be seen. Now, one of the weirder things about the wrestling world in the year of our Lord, still basically 2020, is that The Undertaker is just now knocking around, revealing stuff left, right and centre now that he's retired. And sometimes that's that he's weirdly a fan of Pitbull, sometimes it's to do with knives and men being men, and others it's interesting facts about things he regrets from his career. And one of the dead man's most significant defeats during his WWE run came at the hands of Brock Lesnar when he ended the streak at WrestleMania 30, a moment that shocked fans. But Taker says that he wishes that there was a different one in 21-1, telling Joey Hayden of the Dallas Morning News that, "I don't know that Brock needed that win. Brock was a bona fide superstar at that point, so I don't know that he needed it. Roman definitely was the right call. I just wish he may have been first. I wish I could have reversed them, you know what I'm saying? If Roman would have been able to do it, I think it would have increased the value." Now, those with memories amongst you will of course remember how Roman's defeat of Taker and subsequent ownership of the Yard went down. Like the flipping Titanic. Before we get on with the news, we just need to thank Ronald Coleman, Bebe, and the Shield Maiden, the Zornies, for their support on Patreon. Now, we mentioned the Beast Brock Lesnar just then while talking about the streak, but somewhere in the sliding doors of the wrestling world, there was a Beast Brock's sister. Because Beth Phoenix was having some fun on Twitter and recounted a story of her early days in WWE, saying, "Fun fact, at one of my first gigs as a WWE extra, I pitched a detailed storyline to Michael Hayes to be brought in as Brock Lesnar's sister. I had zero chill." Now, Phoenix actually joined WWE's former developmental territory OVW, debuting on OVW TV in 2004 as the on-screen girlfriend of Chris Masters before being repackaged as the manager of Aaron the Idol Stevens, who would go on to become Damien Sandow. Coincidentally, 2004 is also the year that Brock left WWE and he didn't return till 2012, so if they had been brother and sister, it would have been absolutely ages before they even had any interaction, had this ridiculous storyline taken place, which I kind of wish it did. Speaking of ridiculous stories, Ric Flair. He's a man with many of which are the sort of thing that are going to get him and probably Tommy Dreamer, in trouble, as evidenced by the Dark Side of the Ring's Plane Ride from Hell episode. Well, Flair is now set to launch a new podcast, his first major project since the controversy which had led to him being pulled from an ad campaign. This is all coming according to Sports Illustrated. The Woo Nation show, I'm not sure how many O's you need to spell that, will be co-hosted by Mark Madden and discuss the top stories in sport with a heavy focus on pro wrestling starting on November 17th. Podcast Heat is going to be hosting the show and likely be living up to its name. Flair said of the entire thing, "I've had the greatest career in the history of professional wrestling, and now it's time to have the greatest podcast. This is the first time in my career I'll truly be able to open up about not only my career, but the entire wrestling business. Whether you like it or not, learn to love it, because it's going to be the best podcast going today. Woo." So it'll be interesting to see whether or not the podcast addresses what went on post Dark Side of the Ring and what Flair made of it, I guess, because he has denied all the allegations made against him in the show previously, but this is the first major project he has had since that entire controversy. On to brighter things now, as Tony Khan has confirmed that AEW are planning a Clash of Champions-inspired TV special for January next year. Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast previously reported that AEW's next TV special would air on January the 8th, 2022 on TNT, called Battle of the Belts, which is an old NWA show, because of course it is. On the Full Gear media call, Tony Khan confirmed the plans, telling fans to stay tuned for more info, saying, "That same week when we launch Dynamite on TBS, we'll have Rampage on TNT, and then we'll have the first ever Battle of the Belts in AEW. Stay tuned for more info on that. 2022 is going to start in a very big way." And then Whisper King Dave Meltzer reported that the special would be set to be an hour long, with the idea being to have a pay-per-view level event on TV. And that's not the only thing that AEW have brewing, as they have reportedly also been working on their courtship with NJPW, as evidenced this week by Rocky Romero appearing on Dynamite and extending an offer to Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Wheeler Yuta, and Chris Statlander to join Chaos. Now, behind the scenes, AEW President Tony Khan revealed during the Full Gear media call that the NJPW relationship has grown a lot, saying that the two sides are in contact on a regular basis and trust has grown between them. Khan also noted that NJPW has seen that AEW has made a lot of friendly gestures recently. Ooh, Tony, terrible flirt. You can let them into your forbidden door. Hopping back to WWE now, who have reported that a top star could be out with an injury. Kofi Kingston suffered a beatdown at the hands of the Bloodline on Smackdown this past Friday, with the team taking out his legs while King Woods was made to watch. Now, yesterday, WWE updated to say, "Will Sir Kofi be able to join King Woods' corner for the showdown against Roman Reigns on Smackdown this Friday?" They said that Kofi had been evaluated and diagnosed with an MCL sprain in his knee. So this is all likely at work then to build some hype for King Woods versus Roman this Friday, but interesting nonetheless. Speaking of the New Day lads, the estranged third member and current WWE champion Big E has been telling Alex McCarthy over on TalkSport how his relationship with Vince McMahon has changed since he won the title. He said, "It's been good. I always go to Vince down the years, but now it's a more regular thing where I'm getting feedback and I'm finally getting a chance to talk to him. We're having these conversations about things we're doing outside of the ring, which is actually a big part of being a WWE champion. You've got to represent the company and this title outside in all these other facets. So it's really dope to have these conversations about that stuff." Let's talk about Bray Wyatt quickly, who is always a hot topic of conversation, especially now that it's been announced that he is making a move into Hollywood with his first feature film. Jason Baker, the SFX artist and owner of Callosum Studios and Wyatt's collaborator on this new horror project, is the guy who also helped to design the masks, puppets and other props for the Fiend character during Bray's WWE tenure, has been talking about the amount of freedom the E gave Bray with the Fiend character. And this is interesting because it's something that's come to the fore once more after WWE sources let slip that Bray was quote unquote being difficult backstage ahead of his WWE release. Baker told the Gimme a Hull Yeah podcast, great name that WWE did give Bray and I a lot of creative freedom, but also a lot of times everything had to be approved. There were little tweaks and changes and things like that. At the end of the day, whoever is footing the bill is the one who gets the final say. I think in those terms, creative freedom only really goes so far, because sure, Bray came up with the character and the mythology and helped design the mask and all of that stuff, but WWE ultimately were the ones who had the choice to run it into the ground.
Here's my guess as how this conversation went down, and probably why it's taken them 10 years to get this movie made, is that every meeting they've had is The Rock has walked in and be like, so I want to beat up the Justice League in the movie. And Warner Brothers was like, you can't beat up the Justice League. He's like, no, I'm not doing it unless I can beat up the Justice League.